Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. I'd love to know. And if you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, let's jump in. The sands of Telvar 9 hadn't shifted in centuries. Windless, lifeless. The ancient ruins that stretched across the desert were bones of a forgotten age, silent, cracked, and covered in the dust of stars. No patrols came here. No maps marked it. The Empire had long dismissed it as dead space. But today, something strange cast a shadow across those stones. High above, frozen in low orbit, a ship drifted into view. Massive, metallic, human. Commander Thalek of the Imperial Archeo Guard unit stood frozen at his outpost window, mandibles twitching as his four eyes locked onto the impossible. A warship, Terran make, old model but updated, hull gleaming with faint blue energy that shimmered like ice. No identification code, no signal, just watching. "Confirm the scan," he barked. His officers scrambled, rerunning system checks, cross-referencing archives. No errors, no mistake. "It's real," one whispered. "Earth-class dreadnought. Siege configuration. Human dot." Thalek didn't move. His claws tapped the edge of the console. The ruins had never drawn attention, until now. "Why would humans come here?" someone asked, voice hushed. Thalek didn't answer. Because he knew. Humans didn't drift into dead space by accident. They arrived with purpose. Thalek's second heart began to race, an involuntary instinct buried deep in his species' evolution, a response meant for predators, not protocol. He turned away from the viewing window, mandibles clicking in a slow rhythm, as he stormed toward the command relay. The interior of the outpost was cold and ancient, carved directly into the bones of the ruins themselves. A forgotten station, meant only to monitor, never to act. But now, action was required. "Open an emergency channel to Central Dominion Command," he said. An ensign hesitated. "Sir, the line is restricted. This post hasn't reported in cycles." Thalek spun on him. "Then let them remember who we are." The channel opened with a low hum and a flickering holographic screen. No face appeared, just the emblem of the Zenthari Dominion, glowing red like an accusation. "This is Commander Thalek of the Telvar 9 site," he began, voice firm but low. "We have a Terran warship in low orbit. Repeat. Human vessel sighted over ancient ruin, Site Theta 13. No response to comms. No movement. But it's watching." He paused. "And I don't think it came alone." Back on the surface, static danced along the ruins. Sand shifted unnaturally across the marble bones of a civilization long swallowed. The Empire had always believed these ruins were relics. Monuments, maybe, or burial grounds. They'd never allowed proper excavation. Some places were best left untouched, they said. Too much risk, too many legends, too many whispers about what had once slumbered below the stone. But now that silence had been broken. And silence, once disturbed, is rarely kind. Inside the orbiting warship, no orders were issued. No weapons were charged. No engines flared. But still, the ship held presence like a predator in the tall grass, motionless but undeniable. Thalek watched it through the grainy edge of the visual feed, trying to decipher its meaning. What would humans want with a dead ruin? It wasn't a strategic zone. No natural resources. No military relevance. And yet, something about the way it floated, perfectly centered above the deepest part of the ruins, didn't feel random. It felt intentional, deliberate. Pull all orbital data from the last 72 hours, Thalek ordered. I want to know when it got here and what it came with. The technicians worked in silence. Terminals blinked. Ancient servers hummed. And slowly, a truth began to unearth itself. Sir, one said, trembling, it's been here. Longer than we thought. Thalek narrowed his eyes. How long? 2 days, maybe more. It entered low orbit under full stealth. No alert. No trace until now. Thalek's claws stopped moving. 2 days. That meant the humans hadn't just arrived. They had waited. He leaned forward. And the ruins? Any seismic shifts? Electromagnetic disturbances? Another pause. Yes, sir. Actually, yes. Small spikes. Low-frequency tremors in the southern quadrant of the ruin bed. We thought it was tectonic, but it's not. Thalek cut in. It's them. They're already inside. The implications were immediate and horrifying. If the humans had deployed ground teams into the ruins without the Empire noticing, it meant one thing. This wasn't an invasion. It was a recovery mission. But for what? He stepped back from the terminal, trying to stay calm. The ruins had long been rumored to hide forbidden technology, things older than the Empire itself. Power sources the architects couldn't explain, geometric carvings that seemed to shift under light, whispers of an artifact sealed beneath the foundation. The humans weren't here to threaten. Not yet. They were here to take something back. And the Empire hadn't even realized it was missing. Thalek opened a secure link to the Central Dominion War Network. Red lights flickered across the ceiling as encryption layers locked in. Alert High Command, he said. We are no longer in a position of observation. We are behind enemy lines. The technician beside him paled, antennae twitching. Sir, if this becomes official, if Central logs this as Terran incursion on sacred ruins, we are at risk of violating Treaty 9. Thalek turned slowly. You think they care about treaties? You think they came all this way just to be polite? The technician said nothing. They're not here for war, Thalek whispered. They're here to remind us what happens when we forget who they used to be. Because that's what humans did best. They didn't always conquer. They didn't always kill. But when they moved silently, when they arrived without warning, when they positioned a warship above something the Empire swore it owned, they were telling a story. And the story was this. We never left. The room went quiet. Outside, the ship still didn't move. But a second blip appeared on the radar. Then a third. Smaller ships. No visible armament. Ghost signals. Low drift pattern. Stealth units. They've got backup, someone muttered. We never saw them come in. No, Thalek said, because they didn't want us to. He stared back up at the monitor. If they get what they came for and leave, we lose more than territory. We lose control. We lose the illusion that we're still in charge. And that was the true stake of it all. The warship wasn't a threat because it was armed. It was a threat because it didn't have to be. It hovered there like it already owned the place, as if it was waiting for the Empire to realize the truth. This ruin, this forgotten dust bowl, this dead planet, wasn't forgotten by the humans. Not at all. The humans remembered. They remembered what they buried, what they built, what they left behind. And now they had come to claim it. Thalek stared through the flickering static, jaw tight. If we don't stop them before they get inside, before they find what's buried, then whatever they're after becomes theirs again. And when it does, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Thalek stood motionless as warning lights flickered against the gray walls of the outpost, each pulse a reminder of how far things had already spiraled out of control. A Terran siege-class warship hanging silent above sacred ruins. Multiple cloaked signatures now confirmed in orbit. Sensor readings that didn't make sense. And worst of all, the creeping suspicion that the Empire was already too late. He activated the internal base feed. Dust spilled from ancient vents as dormant lights flickered on in the lower excavation levels. The outpost had been half abandoned, left to archaeologists and fringe researchers who cataloged forgotten stone and etched myths into scrolls no one ever read. But now, soldiers were marching through halls meant for scholars. Dominion officers ran diagnostics on artifact vaults they hadn't visited in years. It was too sudden, too reactive, and too slow. "Commander," came a voice from comms, filtered through static and dust interference. "We've lost contact with the Sub-Level 3 research lab." Thalek narrowed his eyes. Define lost. Systems went dark. Powers cut. Internal scanners are blind. No response from the science team. We sent a scout unit, but they haven't returned either. There was a long pause. Then, "We think they've already breached it." Thalek's mind raced. Sub-Level 3 wasn't just another ruin chamber. That floor housed Vault Theta, the sealed chamber below the excavation grid, uncharted, untranslated, and untouched for over 100 years. Even the Empire's top xenolinguists had failed to make sense of the writing that ran along its doors. The vault was sealed with alloys not native to the planet, materials resistant to all known tools. Even plasma torches couldn't cut through it. Until now. "Get me visuals," Thalek ordered. It took a few seconds. The image was grainy, cut through by static and blind spots, but the outline was unmistakable. A door. Open. The vault was open. The frame was scorched along the edges, but not in the way plasma would burn. This wasn't forced open with brute strength. It was unlocked, clean, deliberate, as if whoever had entered simply knew how. A second figure appeared on screen. Humanoid, armor black and matte with no visible insignia, movement sharp, practiced. They carried no torch, no scanner, just a small cylindrical device projecting a faint pulse of blue light onto the floor. A human, but not military, not normal. This was something else. A recovery agent. Thalek didn't speak for a long moment. They're not searching, he thought. They're remembering. Inside the vault, the light pulsed brighter as the human figure stepped carefully over ancient symbols carved into the floor. Circles wrapped in lines, interlocked in a pattern that defied symmetry. Nothing in the Empire's databanks could decode it. Some had dismissed it as religious. Others suspected it was a form of data encoding far older than any known civilization. The human kneeled and pulled a data slate from a pouch on their belt. They didn't scan the floor. They matched it. A perfect overlay appeared on the screen. Same symbols, same order. They weren't guessing. They knew what they were looking at. "Sir," The technician beside Thalek said slowly, "We've just confirmed something else." Thalek turned. "What?" "There's a secondary energy reading coming from beneath the vault." His claws twitched. "A second chamber?" "No," the tech said, swallowing hard. "A reactor." Thalek's mind froze. That shouldn't be possible. Telvar 9 was geologically dead. The ruins were old, forgotten, and devoid of power. That was why it had been safe to ignore them for so long. But now, energy was rising. Low at first, then spiking, like something was waking up. Or reactivating. "We think it's tied to the vault system," the tech continued. "Some kind of energy lattice is booting. Ancient tech. Possibly terraforming grade or worse." "Worse?" Thalek demanded. The technician hesitated. "Planetary command node. Something designed to control—" A new voice interrupted the channel. Rough, distorted by a broken helmet speaker. Not Empire, not local. "Stop watching us." Thalek blinked. "Repeat?" The voice came again, this time direct and calm. "We see you, Commander." The holographic feed glitched, and then cut to black. Silence fell. They'd been made. Thalek turned slowly, shut down all active scans. Now passive mode only. No signals in or out. "But sir," "I said now." The officers complied, moving quickly. The last thing they needed was a full network trace leading the Terran warship to their outpost. But deep down, Thalek knew it didn't matter. The humans already knew where they were. And worse, they didn't care. They were too deep in already. Inside the vault, beneath the stone, past the failsafes and the myths. They had come to recover something the Empire hadn't even known existed. Thalek pulled up the last image captured from the vault feed before the blackout. It wasn't the human that caught his eye. It was what the human stood in front of. A pod. Large, smooth, jet black. And inside, through the translucent shielding, a silhouette. Small, human-shaped, sleeping, or waiting. He stared. It wasn't a relic. It was alive. And it wasn't theirs anymore. The image of the pod lingered in Thalek's mind like a virus. The chamber was dark, but even through the low light and static, the shape was clear. A smooth black capsule encased in a cradle of ancient alloy, humming with energy that should not have existed on this dead world. Inside, the outline of a body. Humanoid. Motionless. Suspended in something thicker than fluid. Dense. Swirling with flecks of light like stars trapped in water. And it was awake. Not moving, not struggling, but awake. Thalek didn't know how he knew. He just felt it. Whatever was inside that pod was aware, and the humans were already interacting with it. "Zoom in," he barked to the technician. The last few frames flickered, corrupted by interference, but not beyond repair. As the screen sharpened, the details emerged. One of the Terran recovery team, a woman with her face hidden under a mat helmet, was placing her hand against the pod's surface. Not examining it, not testing it, greeting it. She mouthed something. No audio. But Thalek read the words clearly. "We found you." The feed cut again, this time for good. Thalek turned away from the terminal. the stone around him suddenly feeling colder, tighter, like the ruin itself knew it had been violated. Across the room, Dominion soldiers readied weapons, some of them eyeing the entrance to the sublevels with unease. "We need clearance to intercept," Thalik said. "Request a battle-ready squad from the nearest system. Tell them to drop without transponders. No Dominion flags. We can't let this go public." "But, Commander," his second-in-command started. He raised a claw. "We'll call it a relic breach, artifact contamination, whatever keeps it quiet." His voice lowered. "If the humans take that pod, if they wake whatever's inside and get off-world with it, we'll never get ahead of it again." Inside the vault, the air was too still. Lieutenant Cora Vale, Terran Ghost Unit Recon Class, stood inches from the pod. Her palm pressed to its curved surface, feeling the faint thrum of something alive beneath the casing. Her HUD blinked with readings she couldn't explain. Temperature variations cycling in exact Fibonacci patterns, pressure pulses matching human sleep rhythms, and bioelectric signatures that looked almost emotional. "It's her," she whispered. Behind her, Sergeant Dren knelt, adjusting a ground beacon to mark the extraction site. "You sure?" he asked without looking up. "DNA match. Gusibgu jom gugu pusentu." She swallowed. "Prototype 9. Dren looked up sharply. "I thought they scrapped the Nova series." "They did," Cora said, "after the third one turned an entire Dominion listening post into slag using nothing but the station's water filtration system." "Then what the hell is she doing here?" Cora didn't answer. Her hand remained on the glass. The figure inside remained still. A young girl. Maybe 12, maybe younger. Dark hair floating around her face in the fluid. Eyelids closed. Limbs loose. Peaceful. But the readings suggested activity, mental activity, at a level that registered beyond standard Terran thresholds. She wasn't sleeping. She was thinking. "I need an uplink," Cora said. "Direct to command." Dren frowned. "Risky. They'll trace the signal." "They already know we're here." She moved to the portable relay and synced her wrist pad. A few seconds passed. A green light blinked. "Command, this is Ghost Unit 7 Echo. We've located the Nova 9 pod. Confirming identity tag AX9 Nova, still in containment, vital signs stable, awaiting orders." A long silence followed. Then came the voice. "General Adira Voss. You weren't supposed to find her." Cora stiffened. "She was never listed as terminated. We followed the last trace. Same signature as the Pelnar Drift Ghost Run." Voss didn't respond for a moment. "She's not a prototype. Not anymore. She evolved, past the program, past us." Cora glanced back at the pod. "Then why leave her?" "We didn't. She left us." Far above, in low orbit, the Earth Forge. Mark 9 still hovered, unmoving. A ghost ship in the sky. But inside, systems pulsed with quiet power. Commander Elias Rourke stood at the forward viewport, watching the sandstorm swirling across Telvar 9's surface. His jaw clenched as comms chimed. "Ground team has visual confirmation," said Sana, his comms officer. "It's her. She's alive." Rourke said nothing at first, then low and certain, "Get her out. No matter what it takes." Sana hesitated. "There's movement from the Dominion base. They're mobilizing. Looks like off-books troops." He turned. Then we move first. He tapped the side of the tactical rail. Launched the stealth escort. Back inside the vault, the pod's lights shifted from pale blue to soft white. Cora stepped back instinctively. Readings spiked. "She's responding," Dren said. "You didn't touch anything, right?" Cora shook her head. Then a sound cut through the silence. A soft, rising hum. Not from machinery, but from within the pod. The girl's head tilted slightly, just enough to make her presence known. And then her eyes opened. They were bright silver, not glowing, not unnatural, just aware, too aware. Cora's throat tightened. "We have activation. Repeat, we have..." The girl moved, not in panic, not in confusion. She reached up and pressed her palm to the glass, matching Cora's earlier gesture. Only now, the gesture was reversed. She was greeting them. And then for the first time, she spoke. Not out loud. Not through comms, but straight into Cora's mind. "I remember you." For a moment, Cora forgot how to breathe. The words hadn't been spoken, and yet they echoed in her head as clearly as her own thoughts. Not in her ear, not in her comm, in her mind. Calm. Cold. Not threatening, but not exactly kind either. The voice didn't sound like a child. It sounded ancient, as if the body in the pod was just the latest page in a book that had been rewriting itself for decades. "I remember you," the girl had said. But that was impossible. Cora had never met her, never even seen her file until 2 days ago. The girl in the pod, Nova 9, or AX9, was supposed to be an unfinished project, a ghost from an old war, a failed attempt at accelerating human evolution to meet the horrors of deep space. A relic, a mistake. But relics didn't open their eyes and speak through thought alone. "Dren," Cora said, backing away slowly. "We need to secure the chamber. Now." Her partner didn't respond. He stood completely still, staring at the pod, eyes wide. His rifle hung loose in his hands. Cora stepped toward him and waved a hand in front of his visor. "Nothing." "Dren?" Then she heard it. A second voice, but not in her head this time. From Dren's open comms link. He was whispering. "Too many voices. Too many rooms. Can't tell which one is mine." Cora grabbed his shoulder, shook him hard. "Snap out of it." He blinked, hard, then gasped like a man coming up from deep water. "She was in my head." "I know," Cora said. "She's in everything." Her HUD started flickering. Screens cycling through system diagnostics she hadn't opened. Comms. Jammed. Nav. Redirected. Suit temp. Stable. 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 Overstable. "What the hell is overst?" Cora began, but stopped when the pod gave a low hiss. A seam appeared along its side, barely visible. It was opening. No, we're not ready for... Command, this is Echo 7. She barked into her mic, forgetting for a moment that the uplink had died. "She's coming out. We don't have containment. Repeat, subject is active and uncontained." No reply. Only silence. The air in the vault shifted, like pressure being drained from a sealed bottle. The pod's fluid began to recede, vanishing into hidden reservoirs along the base. The girl remained upright, standing now within the chamber, breathing slowly. She didn't collapse, didn't stumble. She stepped forward, and the glass simply vanished. No door, no hiss, no movement. It was there, and then it wasn't. She stood barefoot on the cold stone floor, still wrapped in the remnants of the fluid, like a shimmer of dust trailing off her skin. Her hair hung in wet strands around her shoulders, eyes bright silver, expression unreadable. She looked like a child. She moved like a shadow. Cora raised her weapon. Don't. The voice stopped her, not just in her mind this time, but spoken aloud. The girl tilted her head slightly. You don't want to do that, she said calmly. What are you? Cora asked, lowering the weapon only slightly. The girl blinked slowly. I was a question, she said. Now I'm the answer. Dren exhaled beside her. That's not creepy at all. The girl didn't smile. She walked past them, bare feet silent on the stone, hands trailing along the ancient carvings in the wall like she'd seen them before. Her eyes didn't wander. They locked directly onto one of the glyphs, a circular pattern cut into the stone like a star map. She placed her palm against it, and the entire chamber responded. Lights activated along the ceiling. No wires, no bulbs, just raw luminescence blooming out of the architecture like veins lit by fire. The vault vibrated beneath their boots. From deep below, another rumble. She just activated something, Cora said, turning in place, weapon ready again. We need to move, now. Get her out of here before... The wall in front of the girl shifted, not opened, rearranged. Stone folded in on itself like paper, unfurling into a passageway that had never been seen before, not even in the oldest Dominion blueprints. Behind it, stairs, going down into darkness, lit by pulses of the same soft white light. She unlocked a second level, Dren whispered. No tech, no tools, just her. The girl turned to them. You can follow me, she said softly, or you can stay here and wait for the Empire. Cora hesitated. Where are you going? She looked toward the darkness. Where I was born. Cora exchanged a glance with Dren. They followed. High above, the Earthforge's sensor deck lit up with dozens of proximity alerts. Sana stood from her console, staring in disbelief. Multiple incoming signatures, she said, not from orbit, ground level. Something's rising. Commander Rourke turned toward her. Show me. The screen expanded. Beneath the ruin site, deep geothermal plates were shifting. The topography was changing. An entire section of the ruins, previously believed to be collapsed terrain, was lifting, not from explosion or impact, from inside. A circle of land, nearly 2 kilometers across, was unfolding like a hatch. What is that? Sana whispered. Rourke narrowed his eyes. It's not a ruin, he said. It's a door. On the edge of the rising platform, old stone shattered and broke free, revealing something cold and metallic beneath. An alloy that shimmered in layered colors no sensor could identify. It wasn't just a building. It wasn't just tech. It was a vessel, a ship, buried for who knew how long, dormant, and now waking up. Rourke tapped his comm. All crew to battle stations. Lock in atmospheric entry coordinates. We're going down. The stairs wound downward into silence. Each step the girl took lit the stone beneath her feet, revealing markings the Empire had never been able to decode. Symbols flickered softly like memories returning to a forgotten mind. Cora and Dren followed, their weapons lowered, but not holstered. There was no point. Whatever was happening here, it was already far beyond their control. The deeper they went, the warmer the air grew, not from temperature, but from pressure. Something below was alive, not biological, not mechanical. Something older, something waiting. I dreamed of this place, the girl whispered, before I ever saw it, before I even knew what dreams were. Cora frowned. How? The girl didn't answer. She just kept walking, down and down until the corridor widened into a vast chamber. The walls were smooth, seamless, metal that hadn't rusted despite the centuries. In the center, a platform pulsed with blue light. Above it, suspended in midair by invisible force, floated a core, a sphere of shifting light orbiting rings and lines of data that glowed and vanished like breathing stars. What is it? Dren asked. The girl stepped forward. It's the part they never understood, not the lab, not Earth, not even the Dominion. This place isn't a ruin. It's not a prison. It's a message. She looked up at the sphere. And it's for me. The core responded to her voice, lowering gently until it hovered just above her outstretched hands. Light reached out, thin tendrils, dancing across her fingers, then flowing up her arms like liquid. Her eyes closed. The air shifted again. Then came the voice, not hers, not human. Integration recognized. Command pathway restored. Genetic anchor confirmed. Cora stepped back. What's happening? The girl opened her eyes. They weren't silver anymore. They were filled with galaxies. I'm not what you think, she said softly. They thought they made me. But I was always meant to return here. She turned to Cora, and for the first time, she smiled. You didn't rescue me. You delivered me. Above them, the ground shook. On the surface, chaos bloomed. The circular hatch had fully opened now, revealing the hidden vessel beneath. Its hull, massive, layered with strange inscriptions that pulsed like veins. The Earth Forge. Mark 9 hovered low, blocking the view of the Imperial base on the horizon. From it, dropships descended rapidly, cloaked escorts circling like hawks. Inside the Dominion outpost, Thalek stood in horror as seismic data poured in. Something's rising under the ruins, a technician gasped. Sir, it's not natural. The entire grid is realigning. The planet's crust is responding. To her, Thalek said, barely above a whisper. He knew now. This wasn't about war. This wasn't even about the pod. This was her return. And the ruins were the gate. Deep below, the girl hovered above the platform, no longer standing, but suspended, hair rising slightly in the field of power. The core had merged into her chest, threads of energy connecting to her spine, her temples, her fingertips. The room pulsed with her heartbeat. Then, in the ceiling high above, a single shaft of white light shot downward. The ship had awoken. Panels along the walls peeled back, revealing rows of data plates, glowing interfaces, and screens that showed systems in motion, coordinates, languages, unknown maps of stars not seen by human eyes. The girl began to speak in tongues, voice layered over itself, one language, then another, then another. Old languages, forgotten tongues, and one final word that shook the walls. Home. The energy surged. Commander Rourke gripped the rail on the Earth Forge's bridge as the shockwave hit them. Not an explosion, an expansion. A ripple of gravity and force that spread in all directions, knocking Dominion ships off balance and silencing every sensor in orbit. "Status!" he shouted. Sana's voice came through static. "We lost comms for 6 seconds. Scans are resetting. The structure on the planet, it's not just a vault, it's a vessel." Rourke looked to the main screen. The circle on the surface had risen completely now, revealing a ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. Not human. Not Dominion. Something else. And it was launching. The girl rose with it. The ancient vessel, the one hidden beneath the ruins, buried under false rock and lies, emerged from the planet's crust like a god tearing free from a tomb. Dust fell in great waves. Rock shattered, energy spiraled into the sky, and from within, the girl stood at the helm. No controls, no chair, just her, arms out, face calm, eyes like starfire. She had become its pilot. Or maybe she always had been. Cora and Dren were lifted aboard automatically, sealed into a chamber lined with light and curved glass. The ship didn't question. It simply knew. It remembered its own. Thalek watched from the Dominion base as the ancient ship rose into orbit, trailing no heat, no thrusters, just silent gravity and will. Around it, Dominion cruisers attempted to form blockade lines, but one by one, they stopped. Engines powered down, weapons folded inward. AI cores went dark, not because of an attack, because the girl simply told them to. The same way she had told the vault to open, the same way she had told the core to return, the same way she had told the sky to part. In the Earth Forge, Rourke stood at the viewport as the ship ascended past them. Graceful, perfect, terrifying in its calm. Not a threat, a revelation. He turned to Sana. "What do we tell Command?" She stared in silence. "That we didn't bring her back." He nodded. "We woke her up." Above the world, the ancient ship paused. The girl turned her gaze to the stars, toward Earth, toward Dominion space, toward the places where she had been hunted, feared, and forgotten. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The entire system felt her words. "I'm not yours. I never was." Then, in a blink of white light, the ship vanished. Gone. No jump signature, no trace. Just silence. And a new question written across the galaxy like a wound. What happens when the future no longer asks for permission?